Aitah for cutting contact with all my family? This is a long story. 28 years long. I 28F am the eldest daughter of a Muslim family. I have 3 siblings, 25 meters 23F 12F. I love my siblings more than anything else. However, I never had a good relationship with my parents. Their marriage is an arranged marriage. They were not forced but met through families, and as far as I know neither of them dated or fell in love in their life. They got married when they were 20, and had me when they were 21. My mom only went to primary school and never worked in her life. My father was still studying at the university when they had me. When I was 5, he went to another city to study there for another year. At that point my mom looked after 3 kids. Because my parents were so young when they had me, and because their parents were also so involved in their life, and as a result my life I always had a strange childhood. Even though they did not have a financial problem, they did not buy a bike to me even though I begged them. We lived 1-hour drive to amazing beaches, but we never went on a holiday. It was all visiting relatives, relatives visiting us, or everyone hanging out by themselves. While not so much when I was a kid, my mother became more and more radical with Islam in the last 15 years. She spends almost all her free time, and she has a lot of free time as she doesn't work, reading Quran, listening Islam podcasts, meeting other religious friends, being involved in religious groups, etc. When I was a child, she was kindly motivating me to pray 5 times a day, reading Quran, going to mosque in summers. While I enjoyed these things at first, when I was 8 to 9 I got bored of them after a while and did not want to continue. Well, that was not an option. My mother just would not stop talking about how Allah created me this beautiful and I should be thankful. All I have in the life is because of Allah and I should show my gratefulness by praying. I shouldn't wear shorts or skirts, etc. Saying no was not an option. She just would kept talking and talking. And she would just be moody and cold. So I would pray, read Quran, just not to have trouble with her. All my childhood was like this. My father is not that religious, but very strict. He would criticize if I put nail polish or makeup on as a teenager. He was also very aggressive. He was physically violent to my brother and my mother. Once we were having an argument with my brother because we both wanted to play with our laptop. He broke that laptop in front of our eyes to punish us. I was 13 and my brother was 10. I don't want to go into everything as it would take me days. But my relationship with both of them got worse and worse over the years. I loved reading and I loved literature. I was reading Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, Jack London when I was 13 to 14, and for my mother this was nonsense. Instead of reading stupid fictions written by non-Muslim idiots, I should have read Quran or Muhammad's life. Both my parents were obsessed with the way I dressed. I do believe I am pretty, and I was pretty as a teenager as well. I have a curvy body, and my parents would always tell me I should wear loose, long clothes. Skinny jeans, t-shirts that are not closed until neck were always criticized. Wearing something that shows my knees was not even possible. Bear in mind that we were living in a very hot city, where summers are like 35 to 40 degrees. My summers were a nightmare. I was very sexualized, meaning that if my t-shirt got a bit open and my bra shows a bit, they would act like I am walking around naked. I don't mean outside, even in front of them. They would act like I could be any time, meaning I can have as a teenager or young adult. I was constantly criticized, and never received a real, unconditional love. I always knew my only way out was being successful. And I became so successful. First I was accepted to a very good university in another city and I lived there for 5 years. Then I got a job offer in another city and I moved there. My parents kept criticizing me for my choices in my career. And from the first month I started receiving a salary, their financial requests started. I was living in another city, paying rent, and as a starter my salary was not even good. They had an apartment and a car for themselves, and had an average income. They did not need my money. But they kept telling me that I earn money now because of their efforts and compromises. Now I have to give back. The thing is, I always studied with scholarships because I was successful. I never had extra costs other than my accommodation costs during my bachelor studies. Other than this I covered everything with my scholarships, and started working as soon as I graduated. They never stopped with their requests. I would buy them gifts sometimes, but they wanted me to send money regularly, a part of my salary every month. Well, I was finally earning money and free. I wanted to go to holidays because I never went as a kid. I wanted to spend for hobbies because they never allowed me as a kid. I wanted to go to therapy because I had big issues with my self-confidence and self-worth. But for them, I should have had enough money to have a place and have food, and leave the rest to them. When I rejected, they were trying to manipulate me by saying stuff like I should at least help them with my siblings' costs. My siblings were still studying, and even if I don't give for my parents, I should give for my siblings, etc. I was literally working 60 hours a week for my salary, and my mother, who never worked in her life, was acting like I owe money to her. Even during my graduation ceremony, they did not talk to me because they thought my dress was too open. It was just a regular dress, really. When all my friends were happily posing with their families, my family was sitting there with no smile, and they made me cry that day. After working for a while, I got a scholarship to study masters and moved to Europe. When I shared my scholarship with them, they acted like I committed the worst crime. You cannot go to a non-Muslim country, you are just running away from us. They expected me to get married with a Muslim, have kids, and support them financially. So my biggest dream coming true was a nightmare for them. They didn't even say congratulations. Then I graduated in this new country that I live in. They kept calling me to ask when I am going back home. I told them I am not going back yet, I want to find a job and stay in this country. I was 27, so already an adult who worked and lived by herself for a long time. They didn't care. My mother kept telling me I cannot make this decision by myself, she doesn't want me to live in a non-Muslim country. I told them many times that this country has a much better economy, work-life balance, and I genuinely feel much happier here. They did not care and kept asking me when I am going back. They were literally acting like they do not hear me. All my life I tolerated them, but this was literally getting too much. No matter how much I explained, they never understood. They were acting like someone when all I did was being happy living somewhere else. After some search I found a good job. They told me that they wish I did not find a job and had to go back. Lol, they kept manipulating me but telling stuff like why do we have to miss our eldest daughter every day, but the truth is we were never close even when we lived together. They were literally never happy for any of my successes. They always criticized me for who I am, what I like to do, what I wear, what I read. As a 28-year-old woman I still struggle with self-worth because I was never really loved by them. Last year I met my boyfriend, who is a non-Muslim born in this country I live in now. He is the most amazing, loveliest, kindest person I have ever met. We get along so well, and love each other deeply. While I never have been close with my father to talk about boyfriends. I told my mother, she was devastated. She told me that he should convert to Islam for us to get married. Keep in mind that I am not a Muslim, and even though they know I don't practice Islam, they don't know that I am an atheist. And a Muslim woman cannot marry a non-Muslim man in Islam. First I was thinking like okay, I can just tell her he did convert, not that she will look into his heart, but no. She kept telling he should be a real Muslim, pray, read Quran, and all his family should also be converted? Which is funny considering my BF's sister is, and happily married with another woman. Lol, I think my parents would have a heart attack if they knew this. Well, it came to a point that it was not possible for me to find a middle ground with them. Either I was going to accept living exactly like they want, or cut them off. I decided cutting them off. I first started not answering calls or texts. Then I went full no contact. Every time we talked, I was having anxiety attacks and crying for days afterwards. I told them I don't want to talk. After insisting for months, they finally gave up. And we haven't been talking for months. While a part of me feels so relieved and happy because they just made me feel worse and worse, a part of me feels deeply guilty. I miss my siblings. I have contact with my two eldest siblings, but with my youngest sister, as I left family house when she was 2, we always had distance. We talk here and there but it is very limited. The rest of the family like my grandparents, aunts, uncles etc. These people live in the same place as my parents and share similar values. They also don't like and criticize the fact that I chose living in another country and not practice Islam. While there are nicer people among them, there is also a lot of gossip. And the thing is I cannot share my views or my life with them freely. I cannot share that I drink sometimes or I will live with my boyfriend, so I have to lie or hide the truth when I talk to them. I don't want to do this. I want to be surrounded by people who love me as I am. I don't harm anyone, I just make decisions on my life by myself. But I also feel like I lost everything. I have no family, no parents. My boyfriend's parents love me and I love them. They are so nice and open-minded. But when I see them, I feel so guilty that I have regular contact with my boyfriend's family and zero contact with my own family. Aitah for cutting contact with all my family except my siblings?